Hey, Crystal Maiden here, and welcome to part 8 of Minish Cat. And now we're starting out a side quest for this game. But it's not really a side quest because it's mandatory to beat the game. I hate that line. But anyways, what you gotta do is a pretty long pre-dungeon section where you have to find all of the overdue library books and get them back. That's not really something you... Yeah, that was pointless. For some weird reason, you can talk to animals when you're a Minish, but the cats don't really say anything. So, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you can talk to the dogs, but not the cats. Also, they took this idea and run with it in a way that made more sense in Twilight Princess, where because you're a wolf, you can talk to the animals. Still doesn't really make much sense though, because the animals don't speak for a reason. It's not just because they can't talk like us, it's also because they don't really have... They're not smart enough to have a fully fledged language. That character is a reference to Dr. Wright. I don't really know much about him other than the fact that he has a trophy in Smash Brothers. So, here you can win figurines of all sorts of things, like characters in the game and settings in the game and monsters. And I wish you could just get all of the figurines at once, because it's extremely tedious getting all of the figurines, because you constantly have to do the same repetitive thing over and over again. And you are forced to talk to this NPC in order to make it so that the Minish that blocks your path stops blocking your path. Because if you don't talk to that NPC to start the side quest, then you won't be able to get past this room, because he'll be blocking the way. That is so stupid. I hate it when video games prevent you from getting a bonus from the fact that you beat the game already. Because you know what to do, but you can't skip ahead and skip the exposition. Why? It's pretty easy to avoid the cats if you do it exactly right. Sometimes they can hit you, and they send you really far when that happens. Eslo is a comedy relief character. He doesn't always say stuff that are actual hints, even if you specifically talk to him to get hints from him. Which is unique, but also kind of misses the point of having a hint character. Like, he's mostly there to provide comedy relief. And I guess I sort of appreciate it, but I don't really... Zelda doesn't always do comedy very well. The power bracelets are based off their look in Wind Waker, which I personally think is the best they've ever looked. You need these power bracelets in order to push certain objects that are a lot bigger than you when you're Minish. It's kind of weird how the power bracelets are useful as a Minish, and not when you're big. You don't use the power bracelets for anything when you're big. When you have the power bracelets, you can push shelves that are a lot bigger than Link. These must be the best power bracelets in the entire franchise, considering how much bigger the shelves and stuff are compared to Link. Here's one of the few parts of the game where the Gust Jar is mandatory after getting it, because you need to clean up that dust to progress. I had way too much difficulty with this puzzle when I first played the game. Like, it sucks falling back into that pit before you've made the book fall. And if you don't do it exactly right, like if you have the clone Link be in the wrong position, then you can easily get him to disappear on the way. I'll build here, I think. except you're not the one building it. So why does he say I'll build here when it's the head carpenter who builds it? You need to fuse kind stones with the carpenter who will randomly be right next to the post office in order to give the next oracle home. That's so unintuitive. How are you supposed to know that there's going to be a carpenter right next to the post office? Again, I'll build here. Except you're not the one building. At least it's not like the Picolite. At least you can just go, leave the screen, and then come back and the house is immediately there. At least they have a transition phase to make it feel a little more realistic. They don't instantly have the house pop up. I decided to give Fair the home because, well, one, her charm is the best, and two, like, I just like Nehru better. Like, I like her design better and her personality better. The figurines of the oracles never really mention the fact that they're the Oracle of Ages and the Oracle of Seasons, even though they look exactly like them. They just call them tourists from the regions of the Oracle games, which is pretty lame, to be honest. And I really wish that they had just brought the Piece of Power and Guardian Acorn back instead of giving you lame charms for them, because in order to use those charms you have to waste a bottle having a charm in there. And because the charm runs out after a while and it's so limited use, it's really not worth it to have a charm in your bottle instead of a potion or fairy. It really would have been a lot better if they just had the Piece of Power and Guardian Acorn return. And obviously improve it so that you collect it and it has its effects instantly, instead of taking forever, making you wait for the text to stop scrolling. So now you come to the first of many underground areas, which have really repetitive music. And it's here where the beetles are going to be a lot more annoying, because some of them are pretty much guaranteed to grab you. The beetles have a lot of glitches to them, actually. They can be trapped in a hole if there's a wall right above them when they jump at you. Let a beetle latch onto you near a hole. Right before it gets off you, fall into the hole and have your back to it afterwards. The beetle might get trapped above the hole after getting off you. It'll become unable to see you and act like you're not there. And also, only so many beetles can be killed at once. If you dig up a large amount of beetles and trap most of them in a hole, and then try to attack most of them with a single attack, you'll only kill 15 of them. But the problem is that the game will have a lot of slowdown if there's too many beetles on the screen. Why is the Mount Crenel water green? I mean, usually when you see green water, it's because it's polluted or something. That water doesn't look very healthy. You've got like-likes here, and they actually make it a lot more obvious that they steal your shield in this game. In Link's Awakening, the annoying thing about Bow Wow, among many other things, is that if the like-like eats your shield, but then the Bow Wow eats that like-like, you'll never be able to get that shield back. And that's pretty easy to happen because you can't control when Bow Wow eats an enemy. So this is a pretty long pre-dungeon section. But hey, I'll take any padding I can get to stall out going to the ice dungeon. Because the ice dungeon is my least favorite dungeon in the game. Like, I hate the ice dungeon. Well, I might hate the final dungeon more. I just hate the ice dungeon, for reasons that will become obvious later. So, you can actually fuse kind stones with that wall, and you're going to be doing that a lot more often. This cave is actually called Bigoron's Dungeon in the game code. And it leads to an item that is well worth your time. To the point where it makes you wonder why you've used blue kind stones instead of red kind stones to get it. Although, I prefer that you've used blue kind stones to get it because there's only 2 varieties of blue kind stones. And they could have very easily made so that there's 6 varieties that you have to have for the green kind stones and red ones. That is somewhat intuitive. It tells you to ram into it, but apparently you're supposed to ram into the tree instead. That's not confusing. But anyways, you'll notice that the reason you can fuse kind stones in the first place is because all of the NPCs that have kind stones seem to have varieties that you can't actually get in the game. And it's a good thing that they didn't make the kind stone system, that they didn't make it even harder to properly fuse kind stones by having 6 different types of green and red kind stones and 4 different types of blue kind stones you could collect. Because it could have very easily done that. For some reason, I thought that you get. Oh yeah, this is the part. Yeah, back in Castor Wilds, I thought that the flies would swarm at you when you're getting back from the lily pad there. So now we're back here. And what's in here? First of all, a piece of heart. And second of all, 2 treasure chests. The teacher must be pretty annoyed with us right now. But here you go. Now you learn the roll attack. I think this is the first Zelda game where you can do a roll attack. And this one, I actually feel sort of justified in teaching you the new skill. It's not one you should have in the very beginning. And it sort of helps extend your... Because I like rolling constantly to keep moving forwards at a quicker pace than normal. And doing the roll attack extends the amount of time that you'll be rolling. So I like doing that and moving along faster. So this guy is pretty greedy, I guess. And it's always a good thing to try to fuse kind stones with the Legolas brothers, because if you fuse kind stones with them, they'll probably, well, they're guaranteed to unlock waterfalls that give you really impressive upgrades to your sword. There are certain NPCs that are completely locked to certain types of effects from fusing kind stones with them. Because, as I mentioned before, you fuse kind stones with the sword teachers, and they're guaranteed to unlock new waterfalls for you. I wish every NPC in the game was like that. Apparently this is the elder of the Hyrule Town Minish. And I like how the Hyrule Town Minish have different colors to them. Not only does it make them feel more ethnically varied and less boring, but it also makes them feel less samey, you know? They feel more alive, although it still sucks that they're all basically the same sprites over and over again. Although the Minish aren't nearly as important as the non-Minish. It really doesn't matter, not giving them their own sprites, I guess. I don't know why he couldn't have just given you the flippers right away. I mean, you don't need to prove yourself. If you've made it this far, then obviously you've proven that you're capable of getting them already. So, the flippers were originally used by Library. And thankfully, the flippers magically grow with you, so that they're not restricted to you being a Minish. You can actually swim a lot faster as a Minish. Which I really hate, because why can't you just swim that fast all the time? Although, this game has much better swimming controls than the previous 2 games. You don't swim at the speed of molasses like in Link's Awakening. And you don't have extremely slippery momentum like you do in Link to the Past. The swimming controls are the best they've ever been in this game. That's not really talking about the 3D games, because, well, to be honest, I like the swimming controls in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, although they're not really comparable to each other. those things are really annoying. They move around all over the place. They're like the enemies in the Tower of Hera. It's so easy for them to hit you, and they move in unpredictable directions. Yeah, that's gonna be a very common running gag in this Let's Play. I'm gonna constantly find a green kind zone and be like, oh, is this the variety I want? No, it isn't. And that happens to be every single playthrough. I mean, what are the chances? You'd think that when you're playing through the game, they'd at least switch things up and have it so that there's different varieties of green kind zones that you can't get at different parts of the game. But no, it's always that one kind zone. And I hate that. It's just really glaring that you can't buy specific varieties of kind zones. Gorons are very rare in this game. Like, the Gorons you'll see here are the only ones in the entire game. You'll find more Gorons later on, but unless they're the Goron merchant, they're here. And it's sort of like in Wind Waker, where the only Gorons in the entire game are the merchants, and there's only 3 of them. And it makes you feel like they're a dying race. And you might assume, based on that Wind Waker takes place just after Minish Cap. But that's not actually the case, but it might have been planned to have been the case. And I'll elaborate more on that in the next part.